Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money.
Every last bit of foreign aid over the next 90-day period is going to be reviewed, and if that foreign assistance is not delivering sufficient and adequate return on investment to the United States, it's done. It's out of the budget.
On day one, I signed an executive order directing every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal. I imposed a foreign aid freeze.
It is completely nonsensical. It is also going to do things like end vaccination programs. So the sort of programs that prevent outbreaks of disease in humanitarian settings, as well as just routine things like measles and polio vaccination for infants around the world. All of that now is in the process of being halted.
Hey, you don't pay taxes in America? Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country.
So Donald Trump immediately stops all foreign aid.
And that is exactly what I have been wanting, what I have been asking for, what I have been screaming about for the last 2+ years.
I dare somebody to complain about that bullshit.
There is going to be considerable impact on the continent of Africa because of Donald Trump's freeze on aid. And in this video, we are going to try to analyze the impact of what has happened. This is definitely a touchy subject, and I plan to approach understanding this issue from an objective point of view. If you like the sound of that, stay tuned. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ, and I am Nigerian and British mixed. As someone that grew up mostly in the United Kingdom, I decided to carry myself over to Uganda to start a new life with my partner Medina. Living in Uganda for the past couple of years has made me confront the relationship between Africa and the West. It's not something that I ever thought about too much before, and that is why understanding the impact of this Donald Trump's latest move is very interesting to me to think about.
Every last bit of foreign aid over the next 90-day period is going to be reviewed, and if that foreign assistance is not delivering sufficient and adequate return on investment to the United States, or it is being used in countries that don't like us, or it is being used in ways that are destabilizing world peace, or it is determined that sending that money over to those countries is at the detriment and to the detriment of our people, it's done. It's out of the budget. And that is exactly what I have been wanting, what I have been asking for, what I have been screaming about for the last 2+ years.
So this is the current situation, and many Trump supporters are really happy about this. America sends a lot of money to Africa, and I received a phone call yesterday from someone that told me that HIV medication was previously free, will now have to be paid for. And the kind of prices they were telling me about are probably not affordable for the majority of people. Make no mistake about this, people are going to die, particularly if after the 90 days, your country is still frozen out. People that rely on this foreign aid will be in trouble. So I want to be sensitive to that understanding. I am aware of this. However, I told you that I was going to be objective about this, and there are some other things that must be considered. What you're looking at right here is the US debt clock. This is in real time, and as of right now, the US national debt is $36 trillion. Look how fast it's ranking up. This is an enormous amount of money. You see, America has its own problems. And I've been saying for a while, one of the reasons why I moved to Uganda is because I believe the West is on decline. Let's not forget about the California fires that's happening right now. From what I can tell, I don't know how this gets back to normal without the government intervening, i.e. paying money to help people rebuild their lives. The next issue is that US has a massive homeless problem in many regions. They have a massive drug problem. You have cities that have a murder rate. Here in Chicago in 2024, it was 537 people. That's starting to approach almost 2 people per day murdered in one city alone. For all of its glitz and glamour, America has its problems. Now, the ex-Kenyan president started trending on X because of his take on this freeze.
People the other day crying, oh, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, Hey, you don't pay taxes in America? He is appealing to his people. Shauri yenu bwana. Eh? This is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, what are we going to do to help ourselves? Instead of crying, tujiulize, what are we going to do? Haya, ametoa hiyo pesa, sasa tutafanya namna gani jameni? What are we going to do? Yeah? To support ourselves. Because nobody is going to continue holding out a hand there to give you. It is time for us to use our resources for the right things. We are the ones who are using them for the wrong things.
Now, I actually like this point of view. See, this place you're looking at here in this picture is supposed to be Wakanda. You see, the movie Black Panther represents our fantasy of what Africa could be. Now, do we want to be aid receivers or aid givers? Do we want to be the ones begging? Or do we want to be the ones with abundance? You cannot control what someone in another country decides. So when that person decides to cut off aid, something they're giving freely from their own budget, despite all of their problems, we have to take our medicine. This has exposed the mentality that is in Africa. It's a mentality of reliance on others. And at the same time, I hear all this talk of being colonized, but here we are with our hands out. It shows us that our resources are mismanaged. It exposes the fact that we do not cooperate. It exposes the fact that we do not have robust, trustworthy systems, because those are the things Africa needs for success. The last few weeks, we've been seeing the brewing conflict happening in Congo because there's absolute chaos over resources there. Maybe this is the wake-up call Africa needs when you start seeing your people dying because they haven't got free aid. When there's an outpouring of pain, I don't wish it on anybody. Sometimes change doesn't happen till you hit the rock bottom. Now, we shouldn't have had to go this far, but this is where Africa is.
And of course, right now, that aid has been used in places like Gaza, like Ukraine, Sudan. What impact will it have in those areas?
So in a place like Sudan, there is a famine actively underway. This is pulling back the very humanitarian relief that is combating that famine. It is pulling back things like water assistance, nutrition assistance. Food aid is exempted, but anyone who knows the first thing about nutrition knows that you don't digest food very well without having clean water to drink. So, it is completely nonsensical. It is also going to do things like end vaccination programs. So the sort of programs that prevent outbreaks of disease in humanitarian settings, as well as just routine things like measles and polio vaccination for infants around the world. All of that now is in the process of being halted.
You hear these stories about how aid gets put through all these middlemen before it gets to the people that really need it, and how these people profit in the middle of it. Sometimes those people will be the leaders of the countries or groups in the country or just NGOs or foreign companies, I don't know. But there are dark and dirty corners that we don't know about all of this foreign aid stuff. And as of right now, it's a freeze for 90 days. Maybe some of that stuff will come to light. That may also be a silver lining. You also have to ask yourself, like this gentleman here, is it in his interest? It may not be, I don't know. But is it in his interest financially for this foreign aid to continue? I'm pointing at him. I'm not really sure what his position is. Those people shouting at the top of their voices about the end of this foreign aid are those people that profit from being a middleman in that process. Those type of inefficiencies, we need to stamp them out.
Why you question the kind of lazy formulation of foreign aid, right?
Oh, yes. That there you're simply transferring the wealth that has already been created, but you're not transferring the ability to create that wealth.
What about if you transfer expertise?
Oh, that's easier said than done as well. But I think that the expertise, if there is a fertile soil for it, of course, that can happen. Too often in foreign aid, you're rewarding people for doing all the wrong things. That is, you're willing to lavish foreign aid on Tanzania because they have bungled so many things and people are on the edge of starvation. You are not willing to send foreign aid to the Ivory Coast because they've done things that worked out. And so you're subsidizing irresponsibility. But I've discovered the very same thing a decade ago in looking at programs for minority students in the United States. It's a certain mindset that you see in every area, that you want to give help to those who need it most. And often what that means is not someone who was more disadvantaged at the outset, but someone who was more irresponsible in dealing with a situation.
So the idea is this: when you start to give foreign aid to a group, they become dependent on it and they have no motivation to move past that dependency. If you're going to give assistance such that the people educate themselves and get expertise and start to be able to do things like build their own infrastructure, build businesses, build, things that are going to help the country develop, then he's for it. But he's saying that, all too often it becomes a dependency. And that's what the reaction to this freeze has exposed, that people are crying because they've lost their dependency. And what happens when you lose your dependency? You're forced to either sink or swim. And I don't level this criticism at the people on ground that need the aid. Like I said, I'm understanding of their situation, but the management of Africa has to improve. Africa is sitting on a gold mine. Everybody knows that everything that the world needs comes from Africa, many things. And I, for one, think that we've got a long way to go in order to make Africa a kind of robust, safe place to do business, safe place, like this is a generalization, but a place where development benefits the people on ground so that we can aid our own people, we can help our own people, we can distribute education and medicine to our own people without having to look for outside people that may have strings attached. Now, I know that this is not going to be necessarily a popular opinion, but if you have an opinion and you want to put it in the comments, please do. But if you don't have something to put in the comments, would it be too much trouble to ask you to write the words "a better Africa"? That way I know that you like what I'm doing, you're rocking with the channel, and you want to see me continue. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.